All right, here we go again. Hopefully I've got a good one here this time. As you can see behind me, I don't have nearly enough projects around here, so I found this car on Marketplace the other day and had to go grab it. I know it's not maybe exactly what I want, but it's a car with a lot of promise. So we're gonna walk around, go over what this car has going for it and maybe some of its drawbacks. But all in all, I think this is something I can get together and run it down the road with pretty minimal work. That's far from saying I'm going to restore this thing. It needs quite a bit to be a nice show car, but I don't think it needs much to be a good driver. Hey Sadie, say hi. All right, let's start by popping the hood here. Here's some of the good thing it's got going for it. So under the hood is either a 302 or 289. I haven't been able to dig in far enough yet to verify, but I have a suspicion it might be a 289. I should have said before, this is originally a six-cylinder, 3-speed car. Originally a manual transmission, but somebody somewhere along the line has converted it from a 6-cylinder to a V8. I think it's a 289. Haven't been able to find numbers on it yet, or even look for numbers to verify that, but it does start, does run, sounds good. Like I said, it's a C4 automatic now. Probably the best thing about the car, and really what made me go ahead and decide to buy it, was when I crawled underneath it and the seller had said it had an 8-inch rear, and I believe it's a 9-inch rear, and we can get underneath there and take a look at it, but it's a 9-inch and it's been looks like it's all fresh. It may be out of a later car. That's something else I want to do, is pop the rear wheels off and try to get a drum to drum measurement. It does look a little bit wide for this chassis. Front is still 4-lug, hasn't been converted yet, so that's on the to-do list. It does have a little bit of brakes. I was able to drive it off the trailer into the garage, which was kind of rare. The kids say most of my junk I drag home never runs, but this one actually runs. You can see the interior isn't terrible, but isn't great. Wouldn't take much to reupholster that seat. It's got a skinny pedal there, and I did find when I was looking at the car to buy it, tucked up under the carpet here is the clutch pedal. So somebody just stuffed that behind there. So if I did ever want to convert it back to a manual transmission, that's a positive, it's a win. Obviously it doesn't have any glass in it. So that's pretty much first on the agenda to try to work on. And what I was told is that not the guy I got it from, but the previous owner, ex-wife or angry wife or something, somebody took a golf club to the windshield and smashed out the windshield. And then when the guy I bought it from was hauling it home with no front glass in it, the rear glass blew out on him going down the road. So yeah, that puts the glass high up on the list. And actually, because of how these 65 to 68 are put together, I think what I'm going to do actually first is put a new headliner in it. This isn't bad, but where was it? Somewhere there's some tears. There you go over here. And because these wrap up around the window lip, before I put the glass back in it, I'm gonna put a new headliner in it. So although I'm going to try to put this car together as cheaply as possible and try not to get too much, project distraction, I guess I'm going to start by doing something that I don't even really need to do to get it on the road. It does have a couple dingers in it. You see one right up here on the roof, probably golf club related. There is one in the door here. The whole car does seem to be coated with about a 1/16 inch of Bondo, which is a little bit scary. Somebody did go to sanding on the roof here. I think the original color is this red. It had been painted maroon at some point. Then there's some filler, then red, then the factory primer down to bare steel. So I'll have to cover that up, that bare steel up. But right now I don't really care what this thing looks like. Other big win, big positive, and I'll jack the car up here and hop underneath it, but there's almost no rust on the bottom side of this thing. I think somebody has patched the floor pans, but it doesn't look like it's done too bad. And the front and the rear frame rails, rear spring mounts, everything looks really good. And that also was what made me kind of ignore the ugliness on top, because the bottom side I think is solid. All right, let me put you on pause here for a second. I'll pop the trunk and we'll look at what I think is pretty much the only serious rust on the car. So here we go inside the trunk. You can see some of the spare parts. Now, right back here, obviously the bottom of the quarter is gone, and I'm not really worried about that, but right in here around, where was it? Around some of the gas tank mounts and rear frame rails and the pans, there is a little bit of rust, but again, it's not anything I'm real worried about. Nothing that's serious. I should pull this trim out, lay it all out, and make sure I've got it all. I do have front and rear windshield. It came with it, and the seals. So hopefully there's no surprises there. That glass should be good. Yeah, what else? Kind of ugly, but I think it's a good place to start. All right, I'm gonna jack this thing up, put some stands under it, and we can take a look underneath. Here we are at the back of the car. We're gonna start at the back and work forward. Like I said, I'm about 90% sure that's a 9-inch. I'll show you the front side in a second. I think the main way I know how to tell them apart is this bolt that's right here, you can't quite see, is tucked underneath this pinion support, and you can't get on that. So that, I think, makes that a 9-inch. Everything kind of looks fresh back here. You can see some of that hardware is kind of fresh and rusty looking. Kind of a cobble job on the brake lines, but that's okay. And yeah, that looks good. Also, you can see it, but where are we at here? Yeah, frame rails up there. They're nice. At least not full of holes. So that's a big win. I don't know about the springs. They look, who knows what they are. But right here at the front spring mount, that all looks great and solid. Floor pans look really good. There is, where is it at? Somewhere there is a seam. There's a little bit of rust there, but yeah, there's a seam I saw somewhere where it looked like they had been patched, but not too bad. There's the front frame rail. I didn't see, when I looked over the car before I bought it, I couldn't find any holes or rust in that, which is awesome. And that just kind of carries on up to the front. The other side does look about the same. It's got some sort of homemade dual exhaust on it, which is fine for now. And yeah, really looks good, especially compared to that red car I had a couple years ago. So I think this is, the bottom side is good. Something we can work with. Doors aren't great. Front fenders, I think hiding in that Bondo probably has some rust, but they all do. All right, let's look at the front frame rails in the engine compartment. Again, this is not original V8 car, so there's certainly some homebrewed cobbling to get this V8 in here. Haven't been able to dig in too deep, but there's some things here that are a bit sketchy. But down there, again, those front frame rails, no rust in them. Shock tower does have the classic, somebody cut a hole in it to be able to grease the upper control arms right there, but a lot of cars of this vintage had that done to them. On the, let's see, it's hard to see down in there, but on the passenger side, nothing that I can see right now that's serious. I haven't pulled the battery out. I imagine there's rust under there. There always is. There's some sketchy wiring. Some random things I'll have to track down. But yeah, all in all, this thing looks good from a structural rust standpoint. Certainly some things that need to be worked on. The top, there's some rust in that door. Let's check out this side. A little surface rust in that pan. There's a seam that doesn't look factory. Somebody's patched that in. But again, not terrible. Certainly seen worse. Let's slide up under there and look at that rear end. Here you can see that bolt I was talking about that's hidden behind the, or the nut, I should say, that's hidden behind that pinion support. And to me, and the shape of the rear end pretty much confirm that's a 9-inch, which is awesome. Might be worth about half of what I paid for the car. I'll go over that in a bit. I don't know if I usually share numbers, but I am going to try to get this one together to drive. Just hooked up the battery now. Gonna hop in, see if it'll start up. This is a true cold start. Haven't started it in about a week, so let's see what it does. Look at that. Fire it up immediately. Smells like old gas. Yeah, it doesn't sound too bad back here either. Sadie's hanging out in the back seat. Sadie approves. She's ready to go for a ride. You go for a ride, Sadie? Oh yeah, always. See, so he did tear apart the driver's side door to replace the the glass seals and just never put it back together. So that's why that's torn apart. This side's together. Yeah, so this is what we've got. So, pulled the rear wheels off, popped the drums off after I figured out everybody on the internet uses their dimensions from flange to flange. And what I've got, flange to flange, is 59¼ inches. You see, I used a straight edge to make a line down on the floor on both sides. That means this rear end's out of I think a 67 to 70 Mustang, which makes it 2 inches wider than what should have been in a 65. So yeah, I will probably have some challenges tucking 8-inch wide rear tires up in here like I want to do. So yeah, I'll have to do some more scratching of my head about that. Good news is that somebody has definitely been in here into these drum brakes. I think this whole rear axle is really fresh. Got some fresh pads and brake adjuster, and the wheel cylinder all look new. 10-inch rear drums. So if I can get wheels to fit, I think this whole rear end of the car is pretty good to go. If you ignore the details. Yeah, brake lines are kind of sketchy. It does have new Coney shocks in it. I saw those when I was underneath it. That's cool. What else? What else could we look at here today before I wrap this up? I don't know. I have to think about it here. I'll sit and stare at this for a bit. So I was just thinking, what's actually keeping me from driving this thing around the yard right now? And there's not much. So what I'm going to do is throw on an air cleaner that came with the car. I'm going to take a look at all this wiring, make sure nothing's hot, nothing's going to short out. Check the water, check the fluids, and then I think I'm going to put it back down on the ground and air up that tire. And we're going to go rip this around the yard a little bit. Give Sadie a ride. She's been napping in there. Say hi, Sadie. sure Sadie likes that part of the ride. Brakes pretty much don't work. Sadie doesn't really like the burnouts, and transmission keeps popping out of gear. I think it's probably just low on fluid. But other than that, it moved. Did some donuts. We're good to go.